Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Asgardians and mutants alike. Welcome to another Liam Aiden gameplay video, back with more Marvel Strike Force today. Now, it's been just about a week since ISO-8 dropped, so we've had time to play around with it, to get a feel for how it works, how it's benefiting our characters and our teams, maybe some of the best character and team compositions, and I've had enough time to come up with this quick and dirty guide to ISO-8. Quick and dirty because I'm going to keep it short. This is just going to be a basic overview, just going through the various different classes, and I'm giving you an idea of what they do and what characters are best for them. So caveat, this is not going to be the be-all and end-all. The information that I present here today very much is just the quick and dirty overview. If you're looking for a way to kind of understand, okay, I'm new to ISO-8, as everybody is, how do I work out which characters, generally speaking, fit with which classes when I'm applying ISO-8 to them? This is the guide for you. Obviously, there will be exceptions to all of the rules that I'm presenting today, and although we can generally say that this type of character is best with this type of ISO-8 upgrade, you do want to bear in mind the team composition, the overall way the team is going to be working, and you're probably going to have to experiment a little bit as well yourself. But hopefully, this guide here today will be helpful in getting you well on your way to using ISO-8 with your Marvel Strike Force team. So we're just going to quickly go through the classes. I'll have a graphic at the end with all this information for you, so stay tuned for that. So let's go. So the first class, we're just going to look at the classes. When you open up ISO-8 classes, this is what you see. We're just going to go left to right. So we're going to start, first of all, with Striker. Now, all of these ISO-8 classes, when they're maxed out, so all these ISO-8 classes immediately give you a health boost. They're increasing the health pool of your characters. Now, when they're maxed out, each class gives you a 20% max health, increased 20% max health. That's the way that works. Just assume that's there, no matter the class we're talking about. Now, the Striker class gives you 15% bonus damage, and if a character that you're attacking is already vulnerable, they've already had the vulnerable status applied to them, then you get an ISO-8 bonus attack. Now, this is kind of, in my mind, the sort of basic standard ISO-8 upgrade. It's the one that I give to characters that I don't really know that any of the other classes will kind of work for them, because basically it's just increasing their damage and giving them that chance to attack again if an enemy already has vulnerable applied. That said, the kind of traits that you're looking for in a character, the kind of traits that make them a good striker, include having high damage or ones that are often calling in assists from other characters. Primarily, ones that are calling in skirmisher assists. So for the people that they're calling in, you're going to want to put skirmisher on them. We'll talk more about that when we get to skirmisher. So for a good striker, you're looking for characters that have high damage output and also characters that often call in assists. And we're going to talk a little bit about maybe what, if they have specific characters they call in for assist, the way that kind of marries up, the way striker and skirmisher interact with each other. You're probably going to want to put skirmisher on the character that they're calling to assist if you know who that is. But right now, for striker, characters with high damage and characters who often call to assist. So some examples of those characters would be people like Black Bolt's got very high damage, Corvus Glade, because he's often calling in Proxima Midnight on his basic to assist, and I would say Spider-Man too would make a pretty good striker because he's going to be calling in assists from Ms. Marvel if you also have them on the same team. Okay, second class is Fortify. Now Fortify does basically exactly what it says on the tin. It gives you 35,000 barrier on spawn, and then when you upgrade it, every turn you're getting 7% barrier. So basically this is just, it just gives you barrier. It just gives you barrier that the enemy has to get through before they start chipping away at your health. So with that said, characters that work really well with Fortifier are characters who have high armor and high health or any sort of active healing. The reason for that is if they have active healing, then basically that barrier keeps regenerating. You're giving them time to heal underneath. But any character with high armor will do really well with Fortify. So characters that would immediately spring to mind would be characters like Rhino, Blob, or the Thing. I'm actually running Fortify on Rhino right now in my Sinister 6 team, and it's working out really, really well. Okay, the next class is Healer. So for this healer, the healer themselves gets an active healing buff applied. They also apply a minor regeneration and healing effect to the lowest health ally. Okay, so this is basically a regeneration, a regular regeneration, but at half strength. And then later on they get some active healing that they apply to that lowest health ally. So in order to make this work, you're looking for characters that have large health pools, okay? So large health pool characters, because the healing on this ISO ability, just like most of the healing in the game, is based on the character, their initial health pool. They're healing their allies for a percentage of their health pool. So you want characters with a high health pool. So when you first go through the ISO-8 tutorial, they put the healer on Medic. And Medic is, that's the perfect ISO-8 character trait for healer. She's a great choice for that. Shuri is also a great choice for that because she hands out a lot of healing. And characters like Minerva. Minerva's a great choice for that. She hands out a lot of healing. She also has active healing, and that's just going to be boosted by having that healer tag. Skirmisher. So remember when we were talking about Striker, I mentioned that Strikers, you want to try and look for characters with high damage, but also characters that call in a lot of assists. Now, if possible, Skirmisher is a category that you want to be applying to those characters that are called to assist. So we mentioned Spider-Man calling Ms. Marvel, so you want to have Spider-Man with Striker, Ms. Marvel with Skirmisher. Corvus Glade calling in Proxima Midnight, you want to have Corvus Glade with Striker, Proxima Midnight with Skirmisher. They're going to be calling in these extra characters, and the reason for that is Skirmisher applies Vulnerable, but unlike Raider, as we'll see in a minute, Skirmisher is able to apply Vulnerable both on a primary hit and on an assist. So Skirmisher is applying that vulnerability when the character is called to assist, as well as on its primary move when it's attacking its primary target. If a character that it attacks already has vulnerable, then skirmishers remove any positive effects that that character has. And vulnerability, while a character is vulnerable, it just means that they're more susceptible to incoming damage. Incoming damage does 10% more damage than it would without that vulnerable attribute applied. So you want to be landing vulnerable as much as possible. It's also, of course, how strikers get their bonus attack, as we referenced earlier. So characters that make good skirmishers are characters who have high speed, or as we already mentioned, characters who are called a lot to assist. So we already mentioned Ms. Marvel, Proxima Midnight. I think they make great skirmishers, but also just anyone with high speed. So going back to the Sinister 6 example, I mentioned that I've got Rhino using Fortify. I have Vulture using Skirmisher because of his speed. So he's able to lay down a lot of vulnerable that then other people can take advantage of. And finally, we've got Raider. Now, Raider increases the crit chance and the damage, and it applies vulnerable. And what's interesting about Raider's application of vulnerable is that it can be applied not just to a single character, but also in AoEs. So Raiders can apply mass vulnerable to the enemy. So when you're looking for a good Raider, you're looking for two main characteristics. First of all, you want them to have a bonus to crit. So most characters have a standard crit chance at 110%, but then there are other characters who have more than that. So you're looking for bonus crit chance. And secondly, you're looking for characters with AoE and specifically multi-hit AoEs. So good examples of Raiders would be Iron Man. I'm using Iron Man as a Raider right now on my Power Armor team, and he is killing it. Iron Man's an excellent Raider. I'd also say Rocket and Killmonger. They're both great Raiders. So there you go. That's the overview. They're the 5 classes. Hopefully, as I said, I said it was going to be quick and dirty. We just kind of whipped through it right there. Hopefully that's given you some idea of the various different classes and the kind of traits to look for in characters when you're thinking of applying them. Now, something that it really is worth bearing in mind, we spoke a little bit about how striker and skirmisher interact with each other. You really do want to take into account the team composition. Now, right at the beginning, I said that striker, I kind of see that as being the basic ability that I'm applying when the other abilities don't seem to count. I stand by that. I think that striker is a good basic ability, but striker does not have the ability to apply vulnerable. So you need, if you're going to have striker, you need skirmishers and raiders on your team. Without skirmishers and raiders, the striker ability, that extra bonus attack, is just being wasted. So you need skirmishers and raiders on your team in order to take advantage of that striker ability. So these are some minor ways that you need to think about your team composition. You don't want everyone to be striker. That's a complete waste. You also, you're going to think about the striker and skirmisher interaction and various other things like that. So these are basic characteristics, but you're going to want to play around and see what works for you with the kind of teams you are working with. That's it. That's the quick and easy overview of all these classes. Hope this is helpful. Here is a graphic that you can use, just kind of breaking down that information. Thanks so much for taking part in this journey with me today, this quick and dirty look at ISO-8. What do you think of it? It's been a really big thing, a really huge change to the game. I made another video earlier where I spoke a little bit about the difference between the ISO-8 system and the mod system in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Be really keen to hear more about what people think about ISO-8. How do you find it? Are you using it? What do you think of this guide here? Do you agree with my recommendations? Disagree with my recommendations? As always, comments, criticism, suggestions, welcome down below. I can't wait to read them. If you did enjoy this video, found it interesting or helpful in any way, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to the channel? I drop new Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and Marvel Strike Force videos every week. That's all from Liam Aiden Gameplay today. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, look after each other.